not really much going on right now. You know, players are not in school during May, and our guys just report back yesterday and today to start summer school and actually start working out tomorrow. And, you know, going through a typical summer, trying to help develop players and improve your roster and improve your team. And obviously, you know, these meetings will probably try to address some of the things that will plot the course of the SEC as well as college football. So always interesting to be a part of that. So any questions that you have?
Go ahead, guys.
Coach, what are you trying to accomplish with these meetings?
What am I trying to accomplish? I mean, I get an agenda for the meeting, and we go through the agenda. So it's not my meetings. You know, I have an agenda when I have a staff meeting, and it's all my coaches there. All right, then this is my agenda. This is not my agenda, so I just do whatever I'm told.
You take the marching orders, whatever day happens in these meetings.
There's some days, I've been taking marching orders for the last 4 days because I've been with Miss Terry at the lake. So I've been cleaning boats, boathouses, garages, and all that. I mean, look at my... So now I'm on somebody else's agenda for today and tomorrow, and then I get back on my agenda when I get back and have people that I can tell what to do.
Nick, I think you favored a 9-game schedule for a while. Do you still feel that way about the SEC schedule?
You know, I don't. I think whatever happens, happens. I think there's so many things that probably sort of go into this in terms of 8 games versus 9 games, including TV contracts and things that are way beyond my scope of visibility, that I'm sure a lot of those things will, you know, sort of factor into it. But I still am always of the opinion that we should pay all Division I games. You know, I've said this for years. So whether there's 60 teams in the Power 5 conferences or 70 teams or however many there are, that it's better for fans, it's better for strength of schedule that we all play all Power 5, you know, games. So however we get to that, I think that's the best thing. I think one of the more difficult things with going to 9 games is, you know, we've tried to schedule 2 out of conference Power 5 games to try to improve our strength of schedule over the next, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And if we go to 9 games, we'll have to unwind that. So my deal was always play more SEC games because we couldn't get other people to schedule. So now I think there's more people in tune to scheduling, so having a balance is probably the most important thing.
Coach, this year overall, Alabama athletics as a whole, baseball coach just got let go because of the gambling scandal. You had the off the court stuff with Brendan Miller and that team. What did Greg talk to Greystone saying you and the staff came together? What's your message to Alabama athletics as a whole? I know you're the head football coach, but the leader that we do a lot of good stuff, but the bad stuff's being picked up.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of good stuff. I mean, I think we have, you know, a great record of history of academic support with our athletes. I think we still probably have 500 people doing really good things, and maybe a handful, 4 or 5 that, you know, made some kind of error in judgment or did something that they obviously all suffer consequences for, that we would rather not happen. And we are doing all kinds of personal development programs, educational programs, all kind of training programs to try to get guys to make the best choices and decisions possible. But that also includes staff. I mean, you know, we're the leaders of the organization. We all have a responsibility and obligation to set a good example and do the right things. And it's not one of these things when you're a parent that you say, you know, do as I say, not as I do. I think we have to say the right things and do the right things to set the right kind of example for everyone in the organization to, you know, be responsible to the brand. I mean, we have an iconic brand at Alabama. I just went to Italy. I got roll-tided in Venice. Florence, Ferrari plant, Rome, Amalfi Coast, in the elevator, walking down the street, it didn't matter. So, and we all have a responsibility and obligation, to that brand. And there's a lot of people who've worked for many, many years to create the tradition that brand represents. And I think we all have a responsibility and obligation to live up to that in terms of what we do, whether we're staff or player.
When you see the betting scandals that have happened, not just at Alabama, but elsewhere, does it raise an alarm bell that, hey, I need to renew my focus talking to staff and players about situations like this?
Yeah, we've always done that. That's always been a part of the personal development program. We've had Michael Frangizi talk to the team, who's one of the best guys when it comes to gambling. We've had gambling education programs. But I think, one of the more difficult things is when you make things legal and all of a sudden there's so much more access to people are gambling and don't even know they're gambling on some of these social media things that I don't even know how to operate or run or ever been involved with. So I think you have to be more diligent about how you approach it with players so that they understand the consequences of even some of the slightest things, that they may do when it comes to gambling. But there's a lot of things that we need to educate players on so that they don't get in trouble, as well as staff. And I think it's all very, very important. And every time these things come up, we try to make the adaptations that we need to make so that we anticipate what could happen and try to avoid it. My dad used to always say, it's a lot easier to close the barn door before the horse gets out. And I've always kind of tried to live with that message. And that's the same thing we do with some of the things that come up as challenges in college athletics.
Having coached in the NFL, do you think that an availability report or some sort of transparency on rosters would mitigate some of the things that are happening, some of the insiderish information that student athletes or other support personnel may have access to? Would you be in favor of that? Standardized?
Never really thought about it. But most of the things they do in the NFL, because they invest a significant amount of money in their business, is really to protect their business. And most of those things are usually well thought out and are advantageous to protect the game. All right, which is what I think, all these things that we're talking about now basically would be enforced to do, would be to protect the game and the players that play the game.
College football, we've become seemingly more transactional, transfer portal, NIL. We're talking about the issues with gambling. It seems like everything's becoming more professionalized, and yet college football is about amateur athletics. Do you feel we're losing the soul of college football? We're losing the sight of why most coaches, including yourself, got into coaching in the first place?
Well, I would certainly agree that there are some challenges that the current situation, that we're in, presents in terms of is amateur athletics. Name, image, and likeness is a good thing for players to have the opportunity to make money. But when it turns into pay for play, I don't even know how to turn this thing on.
Say it better not be
When
Terry.
it turns into pay for play, then now you're getting into a different area. And I think when you start talking about players being employees, you're talking about unions, you're talking about now you're getting paid for something, you have to pay tax. And we probably invest, I don't know, Greg Byrne could tell you better, $85,000 to $100,000 on every player that we have, whether it's academic support, tutoring, personal development programs, whatever it might be. There's a tremendous investment that's made in player development, not only football-wise, but academically as well as personally. So you're going to have to start paying tax on all that Just because you got a tutor, you got to pay tax on what it costs? I don't know. You know, do you have to pay tax on the gear that you get? So all of these things to me, you know, I made the statement years ago, and I got very criticized for it. Is this what we want college football to become? So now it's kind of becoming that. And I don't think it's going to be a level playing field because some people were showing a willingness to spend more than others, where if you want to bring the NFL into it, you know, they have a salary cap. They have all the things that level the playing field. And we could put guidelines on some of this stuff that would do the same thing. You know, I think the big mistake that people make is college athletics is not a business. People say it's a business. It's not a business. It's revenue producing. When I was the coach at the Miami Dolphins, Wayne Huizenga owned the team. That was a business. He took a profit. He made money. He made a huge investment. That doesn't happen in college athletics. We reinvest every cent that gets made into non-revenue sports, to scholarships, to a lot of things that create a lot of opportunity for a lot of people, which is really, really good. So we're not talking about the same thing. It's not really a business. It's revenue producing. And nobody takes a profit. All the money gets reinvested in other opportunities for other people, whether it's facilities, whether it's scholarships, whether it's opportunities for people to play. And if we continue down this road, are we going to be able to continue to have those opportunities? I think those are all good questions that somebody probably ought to answer.
How do you
Last
feel,
question.
How do you feel about the idea of taking some of that profit and making players employees like you were talking about just that?
Well, I just think that, yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, unionize it, make it like the NFL. I mean, if it's going to be the same for everyone, I think that's better than what we have now, because what we have now is we have some states and some schools in some states that are investing a lot more money in terms of managing their roster than others, and I think this is going to create a real competitive disadvantage for some in the future, and it's also going to create an imbalance in competitive nature of the sport, which that's not good for the sport. Everything they do in the NFL is to create what? Parity. So, and if they could have everybody going into the 17th week of the season at 8-8, that would be like a dream for the NFL, because every team would be every fan would be watching their team to see if they get in the playoffs. Well, you think there's disparity in college football right now? There's going to be a lot more in the future.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.